Welcome back to my studio. This is Colleen with Designs of Value Art, and we're going to continue to work on our pear, and I'm going to put a water glaze down on the bottom portion. Getting my water jar out with the blending and glazing medium in it. I'm just gonna pick up my water brush and apply a soft glaze of water. And when I say soft, I don't want you to put a lot of pressure on this because you could pick up the color underneath. And I'm checking the side of the painting to make sure I got the water where I want it. I want it to come up like that, like that. Now it's going to be higher than what I really wanted. You always want to add more water than how far you're going to go with your paint because you want it to softly blend in. And we're going to do two greens. We're going to do a light green and we're going to do a darker green. Okay, it looks like we're pretty good. So I'm going to put my water brush away, straighten out the bristles. There we go. And I've got a number 4 Billy Shoal, and all we did was take lemon yellow and a touch of our leaf green, and I mean just a touch, to bring that lighter value in towards the center of the pear. It's going to be right in this area. Just reloading my brush. I think I'm going to go right over this too, just because I want that to be blended in a little bit better. Go right up to the edge. My paint needs a little bit of water, so we're going to do that. There we go. Okay, we can go right over our water drops, that's fine. Now we're going to just let that water glaze that we put on do its thing and soften this into the pear. Okay. Now I'm going to just go in and pick up my darker value green. Well, it's the green, and then I added just a touch of lemon yellow to it. Not much, but I do want it to be darker down here. As you can see on the photograph, it's quite a bit darker on the bottom. So that's what we want to accomplish here. And since that masking fluid was giving me such grief there, I'm going to go right over the edge to it. Masking fluid came off and would not let me apply any color in that area, so I'm going to try it one more time here. I was liking that masking fluid until it did that. But you never know until you try a product if you're going to enjoy it or not. So I'm just looking at my reference to see how high this goes. And I'm going back into the lighter value just to make sure that this is going to be nice and soft as it blends in to each other. Just playing with it till I get it the way I want it. Nice and blended. Go into the lighter value again. Make sure it's nice and moist and it will blend together. Okay, so we've got that glaze done. I think we've got the leaves where we want them. Just clean out my brush real quick. And since we just put that glaze down, I don't want to do any water drops on the pear. And I'm just gonna make sure this spot over here gets some color. Again, one of those spots from the medium that came off and didn't want to capture any more paint. I just got clear water on my brush at this point, and I'm just going to soften this edge. I think it had dried out before the paint got on there. I just want to make sure it's got some water and a place for it to blend into. So I'm laying my brush down, just the tip of it in the paint, making sure my brush is clean. Just don't want any harsh edges on there. We're probably going to have to do another layer of green at the bottom just because I want that to be at least one more value darker than what it is. So let's take a look at our water drops. I think we'll start with this leaf and do a water drop. Now you can even see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, it might be, the masking fluid that was here won't allow me to put anything down on it either, so very frustrating. But now looking at my photograph just to make sure, and it looks as if the darker value is over here and like this. So I'm going to do that, lay it down, and then soften it away. Keep my hand out of my pear if I can. Now the photograph shows that this water drop is quite light in value, but I'm going to add just a touch of color to it because I think it needs it. Yeah, it needed something. Which is too light. Make it just a tad darker. Okay, now again, I'm going to try to keep my hand out of the pear. I want my highlight over here. So my brush is dry. And I'm wiping it off in between strokes. All I'm doing is picking up a little bit of that value on the right side. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here in a circle. But your brush has to be drier than the paint and any water that you may have on that water drop. So you want to make sure that that's the case. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make my green just a tad darker, and what I'm doing is I'm adding the blue, ultramarine blue, French ultramarine blue, and then adding it to our dark green. But I'm also going to pick up a red. I think our Rose Madder Lake ought to do it. Help tone that down and darken it a little bit too. And I'm mixing with my good brush, which I shouldn't be, but that's okay. Okay, so I cleaned out my brush, and I'm picking up the color that I mixed by rolling my brush in it. One more time, I'm going to try to keep my hand out of here. Oh good, it shows up. All right, so I got our dark in there. Now this one I don't have to add any color to it on the inside of it because there was some in there from the streaking that we were doing. And I'm just softening that edge. What that does is it makes that come right up as if it's sitting on the top, and that's what you want. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get my Eradicator. So I know that paint inside that water drop is pretty dry. So what I'm going to do is use my Eradicator to remove some of that inside paint and get that highlight that we're looking for. There we go. There's one. Now let's do the dot over there. So we've got a couple different water drops. Move my water, I'm going to spill it yet. There we go. Okay. Now when I added that color, kind of left me a line there, so I'm going to try to get rid of that with my Eradicator since I have it in my hand. Okay, that's better. So we've got the water drops done up there. We need to add some more value to these items, and over here these are pretty dark and I've got them pretty light, and that's fine for right the first base coat. You want to get something in there, and but it does tell me that we need to add some value in there. And as I look at that color on our photograph, almost looks like a burnt sienna with some red in it. So I'm just mixing that value. Pretty close. Actually, I'm using not burnt sienna, I apologize, golden ochre. And then the red. And I think this color should work pretty well for those areas. So we'll just add it where we want it, so we've got a couple different values. I'm going to start up here. Actually, we'll start right down here because that needs to be darkened. I'm just rolling my number 4. I'm going to use just my tip. And again, we don't want to cover the entire area because it wants some values in there. So we're going to do it like that. And I did run that other color right up the edge here, so we'll do that as well. Now I can come over here. And this is going to be darker up towards the veins, like that. Since that's a larger area. Soften it in. I took some of the value out, so I'm just going to add it back in. There we go, that's better. All right. Now this area is fairly dark. I'm going to add in just a bit more of the red. This is wet on dry, so my brush is wet with paint. And my paper is dry. So we're going to do it like that, leave some of that value, lighter value in there, but I don't want a harsh line. So I've got just a moist brush in my hand, and we're just going to soften that in. I want to stay away from my water drops too. I don't want to lose those. There we go. So that looks better. Now the one right up on top needs some attention. I'm just going to turn my reference material around. Let's do this area first. I'm going to use the same dark red. Quite a bit of this is red. About like that. And then I'm going to clean my brush, wipe the majority of the water out, and soften this edge, inside edge. There we go. Now, this needs to be a little darker too on the outside edge. Again, we want some values in there. Looking at my reference material, this outside edge here is pretty dark. And then this outside edge here is pretty dark. Okay. Now the very top of this is very dark. So what I'm going to do is pick up some of our dark green. And bring it into the corner of our red. just to darken it. Anytime you take the opposite on the color wheel to your pile of paint, it's going to darken it, neutralize it. There we go. Yeah, and this section is pretty dark. Yeah, see how that made a nice brownish color for us? It neutralized it. Just picking up more color. There we go. All right. Now some of the outside edge of this branch is a very dark color like that as well. So we'll add that in as long as we have our red color here. Getting some more water on it. And this is wet on dry. This will tie everything together too by using the same value or the same color on the stem. Okay, now I'm going to just soften that edge away. Don't want to go too far with this because your paint will start to dry too quickly and you won't be able to soften that edge. Okay, pick up some more color. Cleaning my brush and wiping it out, and if some of that comes up higher, that's okay too. Nothing in nature is completely consistent. There we go. Let me get some of this softened away. Okay, so we've got tying colors in from here to here, which is good. That's what we want. Now this is actually a little bit too red. It actually needs to be green. I'm going to just clean my brush, pick up some of our green color. Try to keep my hands out of my water drop. I'm going to just go right over that brown that's on there with my green. And I'm going to do some of that up here too because it's pretty light. There we go. Clean out my brush. I want to soften that inside edge. Clean out my brush again. And I'm going to soften the outside edge. Yeah, I like that better. All right. Seems to be dry enough that we should be able to work on the water drops. Just picking up the dark green and adding in a little bit of light because this is a lighter area. You don't want to outline it. Now this is actually a water drop that's slipping down the pear. Just like that. Clean my brush, just make sure I've got nice clean water in there. Lay my brush down. Soften that edge away. like I took too much of it up, but that's okay. We can go back in and reinforce it. All right. Now I'm going to just take that same value on the tip of my brush. I'm going to just reinforce that edge with the water down there. This will give it some place for the water shadow to flow into. All right, we're going to let that set up for a minute because I want that to dry before I do any more to it. And just a little bit more of this value here. That masking fluid just hates me. Just doesn't want to grab. Once it's been down, you just can't get any color value in there. That's better. Okay. And we'll do the one next to it with the same values. This one too was somewhat running down the side of the pear. So you lay your color down, clean your brush, and soften the edge. I'm going to soften this edge one more time too. This thing hates me. But eventually we will get it the way we want it. Always have a cloth in your hand, just in case you want to lift any color. Just take all that off. That's creating some more of the value that we need. Running out. There we go. All right. What I'm doing here with my brush is I'm actually rolling it in my tissue right at the ferrule and where the bristles come in. And what that'll do is it will soak up some of that moisture in your bristles. And then you're not fighting with it. Actually need a little bit more. I took too much out. Okay, there we go. That it's too moist sometimes, that really helps. Okay, that's better. We're going to leave that set up for a minute before we soften it in. And this one is actually coming down like this. You look real close at your painting, or I'm sorry, resource material, photograph. There. Now I'm going to try to soften that other one in. Lose some of that up there though. There we go. That's better. Just don't want it to look outlined. I want it to look like that's a shadow underneath there. And that's why we soften this outline edge in. Because we are outlining it, believe it or not. But you don't want it to look like it's just been outlined. Okay, so now we should be able to soften this edge away. Good. Like the way that looks, so we're going to just take that part off. That's better. Make sure you can see me here, so I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna just reinforce this edge here. There we go. That's better. Now we'll attempt that one again. See if we have any better luck with it. Okay. Start down here. Soften that edge away. That looks better. That looks better. Masking fluid hates me. All right. It looks better than it did. Just trying to reshape that. Do the same thing over here. There we go. That's better. Just reinforcing these water drops. All right. Move my water bucket again here. All right, now I'm gonna dry this for just a minute, and I'll be right back with you. And then we're gonna also put another dark value at the bottom, and then we can start on our red dots. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, I got everything nice and dry and cool to the touch. And let's get these water drops the way we want them. I'm gonna add our water drop up here. And the majority of this water drop is going to be to take the color out. And it's like it's sitting. I just outline it a little bit with my, right like that. Hopefully you can see that, what I just did there, and I'll do that again. Okay. There's a water white light up here for this water drop, okay? And then just below that, I'm going to use my Eradicator. I think I'll get more success with that. Do our drop up here. That's better. And I'm going to, oh, I got one in my hand. All right, let's do that. Yeah, that worked out better. I'm going to just take a little bit of that green off of the pear right there. Okay. Outline this water drop one more time so you can see it better. Just like that. getting better. With that green being as dark as it is, it's going to be a little bit harder to remove the color, and I'm just gonna, there we go, perfect. Got rid of that dot of green that was bugging me. All right, I'm gonna outline it one more time. Softening everything into the pear so it doesn't look like it's just sitting there. It's actually between the leaf and the pear. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we got that one the way I like it. Now, I'm going to take our lighter green here. Just cover this in a little bit better. Let that dry while we're working on the other ones. Pretty light there. And I'm just using my Eradicator. Not that big a deal. And I'm going to do that over here too. Just get some value in there. All right. While that dries, I'm going to set my Eradicator down. I've got two reds mixed. One's a pretty bright red, and one is a darker red. And it's got a little bit of the golden ochre in the darker one. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from here and go up on the pear for the dots. And rather than ruin my good brush to do this, I'm going to use a nylon bristle 5/0, but it's a little sturdier than the watercolor small. Down below we're going to have the darker. So I'm just loading my brush, bringing it to a point with the darker red. I'm going to turn this to the side. I want you to be able to see me. Now on the bottom too, they're farther and fewer. There's not anywhere near as many, so they're farther and fewer apart. So we're going to just start right in the dark area first, I guess. Now you want to just move around. You don't want these to be perfect little dots. If that were the case, you can buy little things that create dots, but then they're all exactly the same. Not what you want. Nature doesn't do anything exactly the same. So you can lay your brush down a little bit more in some areas and less in others. Just barely touch it in other areas. And you could splatter this, but you'd want to put something down over the other areas of the painting. I guess I'd rather do it this way. I'm in control then of how much dots we're getting. Sometimes if you splatter, you can get too many. And then you're wiping it off, and it looks like it's been wiped off. So I would much rather do it this way. And this area is that darker area that we included. Get some in there. Just bringing it down a little bit further towards the center of the pear. Now I'm going to change over to the more red value that I've created. And there's a little bit more of the dots in this area north of kind of the shadow area. They're closer together, so there's more of them. They seem to be a little bit larger too. So not just the tip, you can push down a little bit harder. You don't want to go crazy because the harder you push down, the larger the dot. This goes all the way up to about here. And I think you can see the value change in the dots from down here to up there. And I think there's a lot less dots down here, and that's what you want. And if you don't like all of your dots, you can pick them up. That one didn't want to come up, so it's going to stay. We'll do half and then we'll finish the water drops. Paint's drying out again. There really doesn't appear to be too many up above this area here. If you feel like they're getting to be too consistent, move your brush around. Yeah, I think this nylon brush was working well. It's holding its point much better than the normal watercolor. Even a spotter, it's doing a better job than that. So keep on going in this section. And we'll do the water drops and finish that section. Want to make sure you get to the edge of the pear. And this, because you can't see around it, doesn't mean that's right where it stops. So I want to make sure it looks like it's going off the edge on some of them. Shoot. There we go. Just getting my cloth wet. Careful with that red, it pretty much stays and doesn't want to get picked up. Okay, now let's finish our water drops, and by that I'm gonna take out the highlights with the Eradicator. That one's too big. Let me grab the small one. There it is. Is removing the highlight down here. There we go. Basically do the same thing over here to this one. So the technique is, when you're using your Eradicator, wipe it off in between each stroke. Otherwise, all you're doing is reapplying the paint you just picked up, and you don't want to do that. So let's do this. And then take your paper towel and pick it up. There we go. I think we can do this one once more too. Have to create the illusion. There we go. Now let's go ahead and finish our darker red, and as you go down there's less dots. Load my brush. A little bit more water in the paint. There we go. Wiping off my ferrule so I don't get any water drops. And sometimes it's good. Yeah, I don't like that bold. There, that came up good. Sometimes you're better off starting and stopping because you get a different look. And it's not so consistent then. Throughout the entire pear, which is a good thing. You don't want it to look like it's manufactured, I guess is the best way to put it. Hold your brush at a 90-degree angle, just like you're going to do line work. Some of them get lighter and softer, some of them get darker, and that's what you want as well. I'm going to go right up to the water drops. Just going back and loading my brush with more paint. Couple inside that water drop, same thing over here, because it is on top of the pear and you want it to appear that the red drops are underneath, which they are. Again, it's all illusion. Right to the edge of the pear on some of them. Now this one looks a little washed out, so I'm going to just go right in the center of it. That one too, there we go. And it gets two values to that dot. Okay, just looking to see if we need any more dots anywhere. And you could put water drops on the outside if you wanted to, hanging out into the blue background. I'm just looking to see if it looks sparse in some areas. Okay, so we've got our pear, our two leaves, our stems, and our branch. Now let me show you what this will look like. It's dry enough, I should be able to just put this over. You can see how it's going to look in a frame, or in a mat, I should say. Move this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So we've got our mat on there and it looks pretty good. All right, and of course you need to sign it. It's always important. You want to sign it up far enough. I'm going to put it in red because there's not a lot of red in the design, but that'll tie it together. You want to practice your signature. And there we are. Got my signature on it. It's above my and away from my mat. It's in a color that will bring your eye right around. So we've got red and red and red and red, which is a good thing. That's exactly what you're looking to do. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this design. I know I did. I wish that the masking fluid would have behaved a little bit better, but live and learn. Next is going to be our pink rosebud in oils, water-soluble oils. So keep an eye out for that. But you'll get to see this and enjoy this. And thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. You're going to get to see this from beginning to end, so that'll work out well. And please check me out at patreon.com/designs of value art. Thank you again.